Now, the publisher side of things. He's a publisher, as you would expect. He provides data, so he will receive the query. He's the recipient of a query. He's got two options. He can deal with it, and then do a query on his database, his whatever business logic layer, whatever does it, and returns the data accordingly. Or, as I said before, he can't deal with it, or doesn't want to deal with it. Doesn't mean he can't. He may say, no, that's the sort of query I do not support because I don't want you to ask me on the other things. It's up to you. Your business logic underneath knows what you can do and why not. The CIF specification gives you some guidelines, and it goes towards certification of agents as well. So this CIF specification says that in theory, provider must process all queries for which the condition is on mandatory fields. RefID generally is a mandatory field, so it should support request something by RefID. With students, person for example, I think the name is a mandatory field, so in theory the CIF query should also, your provider should be able to deal with a query on the name. If you want to certify your agent, we'll go through a certification process, which we haven't here in Australia in its full yet. But to certify an agent, one test it will go through is query the agent on every mandatory field, and it has to return something. If you don't do that, we will not go through certification, but you don't have the need for it maybe, so that's fine. And I don't say your agent, every agent has to be able to deal with every mandatory field query. In Triboarder we don't. But there's no intention to certify that agent either. It's a fairly closed project as far as we know what we want to do, we know what we want to resolve, we know what we support as far as query is concerned, and that's it. So that's reality, that's how it is. Or you may deal with queries that are not just on mandatory fields. You can also query on optional fields, but a certified agent might not reply to it, and that's valid. So it's up to you, and most of the time it depends on the context of your project, what do you want to support and what not. Going back to the CIF Common Framework, where the hooks are, and I mean, I'm possibly repeating something which you already know, because you've seen the subscribers, you've seen the publishers yesterday, and you've seen all these hooks in there, and we just didn't do anything or not much with the request CIF objects. That method we nulled it out, or you may have implemented it but haven't actually tested it later on. But that's what you have to implement on the provider side. It's a method called get requested objects, very similar like get events. It returns an iterator, very much the same like event iterator returns a CIF response iterator. Otherwise, identical dealing with it if it's an event or a response. Of course, you have to query first and then return the data.
With the .NET framework, it's actually called get CIF responses.
Yeah, so it has a slightly different name, but same concept behind it. Error. There is documentation in the developer's guide from Pearson's ADK about it. I picked out the bits, made it easy for you, just to give you an idea what you need to do, and you're most welcome to test as part of the exercises, try to return an error once and see how it reacts. But generally, you raise on the provider side a CIF exception. In that CIF exception, you set the property CIF error, a category, and error code. Then you can further set description, detailed description. But these two fields in there need to be set with those codes. The underlying ADK will manage that exception, catch it, and will create actually, if you want to raise an exception on the other side, it will actually deliver a message saying unsupported query. But underneath, you just raise the exception and it will manage for you what message needs to be sent to the sys and to the subscriber.